Today we're going to be learning about kinetic typography, which is that. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to this channel. In today's video we're going to be looking at kinetic typography within After Effects. We're not going to go too in depth with it today. We're going to go into some of the basics. We're going to look at keyframing and we're going to look at some other things as well. A little bit of animation, but not too much. And really this video is for those sort of people who don't understand how typography works. And if you don't know what typography is, it was literally what I just had in my intro there, where you basically have words that move up on screen and they come from all different directions. And that's basically what typography is. You've probably seen it mostly in music videos, maybe in some films and stuff, or like text pop up on screen and something. It's really cool to use and it's really effective. It looks really professional if you do it correctly. This video is going to be, like I say, just a very basic look into it, and I'm going to do another video in the future when we next do a typography video, probably going way more in depth in the effects and what really you can do with it. But for now, this is going to be more for the beginner people, so if that's you, stick around for the video. Let's go straight into After Effects and get this video started. Once you're on After Effects, what you want to do is again create yourself a new composition by going over here on the left hand side, going to New Project, and then it will say New Composition. You can then name your compositions. We're going to call it Kinetic Typography. And you could change your frame rate per second. I've seen a lot of people again go for 24 frames a second because it looks really nice to the human eye. Duration 10 seconds is perfectly fine, at least for my example anyway. We're going to go for now, press OK. Now you've got yourself your blank canvas and your timeline. First thing you want to do is create yourself a background. So we're going to go right click, new, we're going to go over to solid, and this solid is going to be our background. And then you can change the color to whatever. I would do it as black, although I do want a little bit of color in here. So we're going to go for a nice sort of yellowy color, I reckon. Yellow as background is going to look good. So there's our background. Next thing we want to do is actually bring in our little audio file. So like for most people who want to do this type of typography, they want the audio on there because they want the letters to move in relation to the audio. And the only way to do that obviously is by moving the audio in onto the track itself. So what I'm going to do is come over here, and I've got my audio for typography here on my desktop, so I'm going to bring it into After Effects and copy it in. It doesn't matter if it's on top or on bottom. I'm going to keep it on bottom because that's where I prefer to have it. Although it doesn't matter because obviously we cannot see the audio file because it is only an audio file. From here, we can highlight the audio file by clicking on it, and then what you want to do is press L on the keyboard twice, and that will bring up the audio file lengthwave. Another thing you can do, actually, if you think this is too small, you chose 10 seconds, 30 seconds, however long, and your timeline only ends right here, go to the end of your timeline and press N. That will bring this very close to the end of your timeline. You can then adjust it. You can actually hold shift, and what it will do is snap to an endpoint, or it can snap to this blue line here. Once you've done that, what you can do is right click on the line itself and then go to trim comp to work area. And there we go, we have the entire work area shortened down to just those 3 seconds, or however long you decided to have it. In my instance, I actually don't have it that long. And this is an audio file just taken from the end of my last video, where I'm just basically saying to the audience to subscribe to my channel. I just took that little clip from my audio because it was still up in my Premiere Pro. It was an easy bit of audio to take, and I thought it would be a good example. And because we're working with audio, I've got my headphones in at the moment, purely so it doesn't echo into my mic, which is sat literally right here in front of me. So hopefully everything should go fine. Subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. So at the moment it's on a loop, I didn't realise it was on a loop. But anyway, what you want to do for kinetic typography is you're going to have to basically create a different layer for every single word that you use. And I actually do have a long piece of audio right here. I should probably shorten it, but for the sake of doing it, I'm going to just leave it at exactly what we have right there. There's roughly about 12 or 15 words or something that I'll have right here. Okay, so once you're at this point where you have your background and your audio level, what you want to do is go over to here to the T tool, which is a horizontal type tool, or Control T on your keyboard, press it, and then you've got the option to make a box, and then you can just type your first word. So in my instance, you have to put the words verbatim. So my first word is subscribe. You can then adjust the size and everything, but we can deal with that in a minute. Subscribe, I got the text as popular, STD, because that's just what I decided to choose. That's the text I've had for a long time now. What you can do is press Control and Enter to come out of that box, and you can then write another box. So subscribe all, and I'm not sure, I'll probably do all capitals to keep it easy. Control Enter. I'm gonna change this to capitals. Control Enter again, and you just basically carry on For now, you don't need to put like the words in a particular order. We can change all of that around in a minute. I do have a lot of words to write, so it might be a little bit messy for me at the moment. So I'm going to speed up the video just a little bit. I'm going to skip to the point when I actually have all the words written on screen. So then obviously you guys aren't waiting around forever for me to write and all that. Okay, so right now our screen looks really messy. There's words on top of each other, and there's even a couple of words of mine that are outside the screen at the moment. That's fine. Like I say, the order of it doesn't matter too much for now. You can do yours a lot more tidier. I did mine really quick because I'm just doing it for the purpose of this video. Subscribe, however, is our first word, and this is where I'm going to bring it because this is our first word and I want the first word to be up here. What you're going to do is select each word, bring them over, and just resize them and order them however you want. So we got subscribe, and I want to bring that down there. So I want all to be a little bit bigger, so maybe if we had all like there, then we got that. We're gonna shorten this one down to roughly like half size. Got the word good as well, so again we'll bring that down, and you can just basically resize and reshape all your words roughly to how you want it, all that good stuff. So then again, the word stuff can be bigger, like so, again depending on how you want it. Subscribe, all that good stuff, roughly the same size. Don't want to select the background. If it ever does happen when you select the background, you can press Ctrl Z or Ctrl Z depending on where you're from to like revert back, and you can do that on like basically any program of Adobe. Like Ctrl Z is your basically like going back tool, and then you can select the layer you want and then just carry on from there. So don't worry too much if you do something and you make a mistake. Obviously Ctrl Z is the best way for you to go. You can make guys really small, and then in, which is hidden over there, so in. And I'm not really being that creative at the moment with the positioning of my words. You could be a lot more creative. You can like rotate them around on the side and stuff. You know, you can do so much. It's just really depending on your like imagination. So I'm just showing you the ropes right here. Obviously then it's up to you guys to go into After Effects itself and just like create whatever you want to create. What I'm going to do actually is change that to like a bit bigger to fit there. We will rotate the word next just to show you how to rotate it. The way I know how to rotate it, the way I would rotate it, is if you come up here to rotation tool or W on the keyboard, you want to come over to the word you want to rotate. In my example, it's going to be the word next. You want to click inside the box, otherwise it will rotate the background, and then you just simply rotate it however you like. I'm going to rotate it so it's roughly 90 degrees. That looks good. That one there looks good to me. You don't want to press the little mouse button over there, like back to your normal selection tool. Then you again can resize it to however you like. So then I'm going to bring it so it's roughly the same size as that for now. I can then reshape it in a minute. And then we can get the word one. So select the layer 1, and then we can resize it or reshape to however we like. So if I put in the next one, I want 1 to stretch all the way across there. And that's roughly what I want it to look like. I mean, again, you can do it any style you want. There's a lot of words, so I have to sort of do it in that style, or at least for like a quick style. I want to do it in that style. Now it's obviously not quite squared off and everything, and it's a little bit like, you know, all over the place. So what you can do if you want to, depending on how you want your style, you might want it a little bit messy, you might want it all in the box. If you want it more like a box style, all like in line with each other, if you press on your keyboard Ctrl R, that'll bring up a ruler. And what you can do from here is go to either the side or the top. You'll get the little double arrow. You can then bring it down, and you've got yourself a line. And then what you can do if you really want to is then like bring it down to then it like stuff and one are on the same line, and then from there you can then just like adjust like these words here as well, and then subscribe can come down a little bit, you know, something like that. And then maybe I can make the word subscribe just a tad bit bigger, just so it fills up that space a little bit more. And then if you want to get rid of this line, you can just simply bring it back up to the top. You can then do the same with the side. So if you bring it over to the side, then I can see S at the side, A and S is actually fairly much pretty in line with each other. I'm good with that. Go over to this side. Stuff could do with a little bit of an extension to that line. So there we go. good again. Could probably extend a bit, and that will extend a tad bit as well. I'm only doing this very quickly again. So you want to extend these words, then you can go ahead and do that. But remember, when you extend the words, it will extend from both sides, not just the one side. So do keep that in mind. So like there, it's extended over the T, so I'm going to bring it in a bit, bring it back, and then a little bit more, and just bring it over. So roughly about there. So then next one, sort of in line. And you could do that like any style you want. So again, I'll come over to this side. It's pretty much in line, and I'm happy with that. I'm going to keep it like that. You guys can spend more time just messing around with that and making sure that everything there is perfect for yourself. But I'm happy with this, and so far we've got is the background and the writing. And now from here is really the point when you have to line up the words with the audio. So when I say subscribe, all that good stuff, you have to make sure the words pop in at the exact same time, or just around the same time, so it looks like it flows with the audio that you're going to put with it. So I'm going to collapse this just a little bit. So we've got so far all of our items just here, all of our layers, and then on the audio, what you want to do, I think I say subscribe, but literally right at the beginning of the audio. So what I want to do is have subscribe right at the beginning. I'm going to select subscribe, and then all. I want all that good stuff, or at least the word all, to like start just here. So what I'm going to do is press this particular key on the keyboard, which is like a square bracket. If I press that, it will cut all to start just there. So then what it's going to have is subscribe, all that good stuff. Subscribe, all that. But I think it all actually starts about there, so I'm going to cut it even more again. So then it looks like all that good stuff. And obviously the only word at the moment that's going to pop up is all, because obviously everything else at the moment is extended to that point. But if we carry on, you'll see this start to take shape. So then we'll go to the word that. All that good stuff. All that good. Because I talk fairly fast, it's a little bit harder to try and figure out in the audio line out exactly where you are. But you can still figure it out. You can just like go frame by frame, and you can then adjust it later on as well if you need to. For a quick edit, I'm just going to quickly get this all done. You get the idea. You just have to keep on going across in the timeline, keep on pressing that bracket when the word starts, and you have to make sure you're on the right word in order for it all to work. So again, I'll show you what I've got. All that good stuff. So all that, the words, all that. All that good stuff. So then we'll carry on. Like the word good starts roughly there. Good stuff. Stuff starts roughly, we'll select stuff and then there. Stuff and all that good stuff. So you see right there, like all that good stuff is now actually being, like it's still jumping in the frame. So if we go to the beginning, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys in. And you just have to keep on going along. It is a bit long-winded, it does take time, so I'm going to skip this video right until the point of when I've got it all done. Okay, so now that I've finished doing that, we have something that looks a bit like this. Again, it looks a little bit rough, but I'm going to play it now just so you get the idea of what we've got so far and how we can go from this to editing it to look a lot more professional. Subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Okay, so you get the idea, you get that every single word is a different layer, and because it's a different layer, we're able to bring it in at a different point for it to start, and then also they are able to be animated to come in at a different point. At the moment, we haven't actually done any animation or any keyframes or anything like that, and in this video, I'm not going to show you any animations as such, because it gets a little bit more in-depth and a little bit more complicated for you guys, especially like the beginners out there, but we will be doing keyframes, and to be fair, like keyframes on their own can make it look really cool, depending on how you do it. But another thing I want to show you before we do anything else, so the word subscribe has like 2 syllables with it, so subscribe, and you can hear it in my voice when I say subscribe, it sounds like 2 words almost, or like 2 beats when you go subscribe. So what I wanted to do is like split in like the middle of the word, like so I have sub then scribe come up rather than subscribe as one word. So what we want to do in this instance is come down here to subscribe. We want to click the mouse tool first, go down to subscribe, and you can see that it's like one long layer. Subscribe. What you want to do is try and find like the middle of the word. So I want to pause between sub and scribe. We're just roughly there. What I want to do is Control C, Control V to copy the layer, sorry. And in this one, what I want to do is then go Control T for the layer, I then want to just get rid of subscribe. So I want to get rid of half the word. So Control X will get rid of half the word. Then with subscribe with this one, I can then get rid of sub. Control X. What we have now is just two layers, which are like a little bit of a mess. We'll go back down to the mouse tool, and we have the word sub, which we're going to bring over here. I'm using the arrow keys on the keyboard. It goes really slowly, but what it does is make sure that it keeps in line. And I think it was like roughly there. So then what we can do is go to scribe, and then we can just move scribe over. And then it takes, like I say, it does take a while, but it just makes sure that everything's in line with each other. If you use your mouse, it's a little bit messy, and you might end up with it like higher or lower than the other one or whatever. And what you want to do at this point is make sure that the B and the S for sub and scribe is like roughly the same, like spacing apart. That's a little bit too close, so we're going to move a couple that way. And I think that looks just like it was before. So then if we go to, you wouldn't even know that there was anything different. So what we want to do from here, subscribe, it's roughly there where it peaks in the audio where it says scribes. You can use page up or page down. So down will go like to the right hand side, to that side, that will be going like page down, and then page up on the keyboard will be going backwards, so it will be going towards the beginning of your timeline. I'm going to use the bracket key again on the scribe to then do that. So then what you've got is this. Subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Subscribe, all that good stuff. Okay, so now you've got all of these words sort of in their position and they pop up at the right time. You can now start to add your animations, or in our case, we're going to add keyframes. It might be a bit slower of a technique depending on how you want to do it. I've seen people using cameras with this. I've seen people using null objects for this. But for now, we're going to keep it simple, and I just want to add keyframes to it because to me personally, I do like doing the keyframes. And I think it just looks really cool as well, depending on like how many words you have. So I have quite a lot of words, so I'm not going to do it to all the words. One, because it would take like forever to do, and two, because it would look a little bit overplayed if I do the same animations for like all the words. But you'll get what I mean in a second. So we're going to come down to our first word, which is sub. What you want to do is come down to transform, and you've got anchor point, position, scale, rotation, opacity. Now you can change any one of these that you want to. It really doesn't matter. But for me at the moment, what I'm going to do is change the position. So I want to go on this one and just change it so it's out of the screen. So now it's a blank canvas. Then we press the position, and what we want to do is when you get to like there, or maybe a frame before, we'll go a frame before. We'll put it back into position. It was like roughly there, wasn't it? If we go. So if we bring it back a little bit, if you're on the keyframe, it should keep it there and it should be fine. So you got subscribe, something that looks a bit like that. Subscribe. The best thing to do really, which is what I didn't do just then, is before you move anything, just keep an eye on like the number there. So like for instance, the position there is 359.2. If you have that particular number, then you can bring it back to the exact same position that it was in the beginning. Alternatively, what you can do is go nearer to the end of where the animation is going to stop. So if I go to here and open up the scribe option rather than the sub, because that's the new word that we're now going to animate, I'm going to do position again. So I'm going to press position, and I'm going to press the stopwatch because that is the end that I want it. I want it to end up there. Then we can reverse back to near it, like to the beginning. Just there, for instance, as an example. Then I want to change the position to there. So it's minus 27.7. It should subscribe, all that good stuff. But that's a bit slow. So what I'm going to do is move the keyframe in a bit. Subscribe, all that. And maybe if I move that one in, subscribe, all that good. Subscribe, all that good. And you get the idea, like if you move the keyframes, then obviously it will move and subscribe. Another good thing to keep in mind as you do this, because you're doing it on all like individual levels, it's good to, as you keep on going, if you highlight your keyframes, then you press F9, which F9 on your keyboard, you can see they go from diamond shaped to that new shape, which is more like an hourglass shape. And this is what's called easy ease. Easy ease just basically ease it into the frame better. It just a little bit more smoother when it comes into frame. We can go into easy ease another time, and I can do a video explaining and showing you on screen what exactly easy ease does. But for now, I'm going to keep it like this, and it's just a good idea to get into the habit of highlighting your frames and just F9 for easy ease, or alternatively you can right click keyframe assist and easy ease. But again, for this situation, F9 is just a lot easier to do. Next word, we go into all, we go to transform again, and it's just the same thing over and over. It's quite repetitive, I'm not gonna lie, especially doing it this way. Probably not the quickest way by far. However, I like the way that it looks, and again, like, it takes time animating this type of thing, so you just have to be really patient. Okay, so with the word all, I want it to come in with a rotation. However, I don't have the options right now for the rotation, and that's because I haven't made this 3D, and that's something that you may want to do. So I'm going to collapse this, and if you want to make it 3D, select your bottom layer, Control and Shift, and click the top layer. That will select all of your layers. Once it's selected all your layers, you simply come over to any one of these boxes underneath the 3D cube and select. It will select all of those to become 3D layers. All of a sudden you start seeing like all of this around your words, don't worry about that. And if we go over here, I'm sure it'll be all over every single word. So yeah, that's how to make it 3D. And if you notice, when we go into our next word, which is going to be all, we go to transform, we now have an X rotation, Y rotation, and Z rotation, which changes like a lot more because now it's 3D, we can then flip it. So as an example, I think it's Z rotation, nope, it's Y rotation, that you could flip it like so, or X rotation, we'll flip it like that. So if we go X rotation to change it to 90, I think 90 is like the absolute, no, maybe not. You have to sort of mess around with it until you get it dead flat, because I can't remember the exact numerical value of it. But if we go 90 as an example, I don't think it will actually matter too much. So what you want to do basically is have the keyframe start now, X rotation at 90. You then, when it's meant to end, change it to 0. That first value is basically to show how many rotations it's going to do. So in my situation, I don't want it at 2, I actually want it at 0. Because at the moment with it being on 2, you see always upside down and then rotates up. You might want that. You might want that, and if so, then you mess around with the first value. However, I want it on 0, so that's going to change the first keyframe. And then I've got, just comes up with no flipping, just that rotation, so it comes up from nothing. All that good stuff. So again, we'll go F9. All that good stuff. And then that's how you do an X rotation. Okay, so for the next word, which is that, we're going to do the Y rotation, just as an example. So we're going to go, I've already turned it to 84, so we're going to go to the keyframe, start it right there. Or that, it will end just there. So then I want to turn it to 0, and there we go. Very simple. I'm going to F9, and once you get the hang of it, you can do it fairly simple. Again, I'm doing it slowly because I'm doing it for a tutorial. I'm trying to make it as easy for you guys to follow as possible. Subscribe, all that good stuff. So if you see there, it's very quick, I know, but all that good stuff. So the words all that good stuff. So you see it all comes up and then that comes to the side. Okay, so now we've got the word good. We want to animate it coming from like behind, really small, up into the position it's in. So the position currently is 0, so that's really easy to remember. What we want to do is just take it really, really small to the point where we're not going to see it. I'm going to change the value to like 20,000. We click off. You can still sort of see it. I'm going to change the value to 50,000, and you just have to experiment until you think that you're not going to be able to see it. And you only see it that small for like a split second, so you're probably not going to be able to see it anyway. I'm then going to move it up just so it's in line with the T, and then I'm going to move it across. And what I'm going to do is basically hide that very small text inside of the T because it's the same color, and it should work just fine. So if we click off, you can't see that word at the moment. So what we want to do from here before we do anything else, position on the keyframe on the position. Bring it over here, turn 5,000 back to 0. And then this is where we have to play around with this again, because again, I sort of forgot to take the value. So that was sort of a stupid thing on my part. However, we can reposition it however we want to. Just bring it back down. You can slowly see it coming back down. And I want the word good back in position roughly there. And it was about there. So now we got the animation. All that good stuff. The only issue is that it goes really fast. Maybe if I move that keyframe there and then move this one over here, it will start. All that good stuff. And I'll catch you guys in it. We F9. All that good stuff. And I'll catch you guys in it. You get the idea. Like that was more of an animation or like more of a movement than just something like moving from the side. I just wanted to do something a tad bit different. Like for the word stuff, again, we can do something different, and this one I'm going to basically move from the bottom up into position. So what I'm going to do is go into the end, keyframe the position, go to the beginning, and then I can move it to wherever the hell I want. So simply move it down. And what we got, stuff, and I'll cut you guys in. As you can see, the word stuff, and I'll cut you guys. F9. So then we show you the beginning of it, and this is what we've got so far. Subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. It's a bit fast. It's very hard to try and like get it exactly right, especially when like the words are going so fast together. But as an example, what I could do is like change a couple of these. So I don't want to do all of these because I'll be sat here forever doing it and showing you guys. But I'm going to go into the word next and I'm going to transform. So next is currently this one here. So if we go to the end, we want the position to be there. Go to the beginning, and then we simply just move it out of frame like so. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Subscribe. And then maybe we could change one. We'll F9 that. Maybe we could change the word one to come like in somehow as well. So transform. We'll do scaling this time. So if we do scale, we can mess around with that. So then what you've got is like the scale, it comes from the 0, so it's literally invisible to where it's going to be. So subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. So that's basically like the basics of doing kinetic typography. Again, you can do so much with it. So for instance, you can come over to the right hand side to effects and presets, and then you can go to animations. So like if you go to text, and then you close and open up this text folder, animate in, and you've got like a load right here which you can like start putting on your animations and making them look really, really nice. For the purpose of this video, I didn't want to add those and then start like messing around too much. It'll make it really complicated. However, as an example, I will try and put in one. So once you bring the effect onto what you want it to, press U on the keyboard, and again it brings in the keyframe. So I've actually luckily enough managed to get the first and last keyframe in. Sometimes it doesn't work and you might have to play around with it yourself. I want the keyframe to start there, just before the word starts. I want it to end just like there, where the next word will start. And hopefully it should look fairly good. I'll catch you guys in the next one. It looks really fast. That's the only thing. Some of these effects will look really fast to the point where you won't even notice them. So as you can see there, it does animate in. I'm going to show you on like a slower level so you get an idea of what this particular animation looks like. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. So you might even like that. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. You might even like that depending on how you want it to go. The last thing we're going to do, just to like add a little bit more like depth to it, I guess, we're going to select every single layer. So again, you want to select the top layer or the bottom layer, Control Shift, go to the other side of it. So if you selected the top layer, go to the bottom. If you selected the bottom, go to the top. Select all these layers, and you can do the audio layer as well if you wish to. So hold Control and just click that. Don't do the background, and then just right click, pre-compose, call this whatever, I'm going to call it text, press OK. You now have everything apart from the background in a text layer. That just makes it a little bit more like clean and tidy. And if you want to go into the text layer, you can double click and it'll bring it up just there next to the render queue, which I can get rid of for now because I don't need that. This is all the text layer without the background, and then you've got everything in like one master composition just here. What you want to do is right click on the text and go over to the effects. So layer styles, you want to then add a drop shadow. Add a drop shadow by doing that. You can then go to drop shadow and you can mess around with these settings because you've got like from blend mode, color, opacity, all these other different things you can mess with. In my instance, what I normally do is I just like go to the extreme, I then come back down, and then I figure out what looks good and what doesn't. And I like the size, so I'm going to add a little bit of size. I'm going to bring the opacity down to like about 30. So it's, you know, the opacity basically makes it look a little bit more subtle. I'm going to bring the size back up, maybe there. Distance, you can then mess around with the distance. I'm gonna keep it to like 12. Angle, etc. You can mess around with a lot of it. I'm going to keep it like that. I think that looks all right. And then you can change the color as well, blend mode, but I'm going to again keep it like that. Keep it pretty simple. Adding a drop shadow just looks a lot better already. We'll change that so that's all collapsed up. And then what you can do as well is if you go to effects and presets, you type in 4, then you should be able to find the 4 color gradient. So you want to drag that, drop onto there. And all of a sudden you can see that the color changes because we've got like different colors on the gradient. At this point, again, you can do whatever you want. This is actually optional, believe it or not. You don't have to do this, but just to add like a little bit of like depth, I want to change all the colors. So I don't want it yellow, same as the background. I want to change like something different, so like whatever stands out on yellow. Green, is green a bit too similar to yellow? Red is a bit too harsh. I'm not actually a big fan of the color red. I'm going to change it to blue because I actually quite like that blue. And what I'm going to do in this instance is change the first 3 to the same color. So the eyedrop tool, change the first color. The last one you can change to like similar to the background, but not quite the same as the background. Adds like a nice little fade effect into the background. And then if you really want to, you can go back into the drop shadow and then you can adjust it again if you really want to. So again, you might decide that the size can go down a bit. You can see it better if you have like a size of 20 or 22 in my example. So now all of a sudden you've got that, you've colored it, you've got your background. You come to the beginning, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. So as you can see, obviously the word catch comes in a bit too late and stuff, but I've left it there on purpose because that particular effect I don't want to like mess around for ages on. That particular effect does take a little bit of time for it to look good. And it's the same for like most of the effects, I guess. It does take a bit of time. I spoke particularly fast in this little clip because it was my outro. You might find it easier to edit to a clip that has a little bit slower, like talking in, or even like a song. If you do like a song, you can do like lyrics to it or anything like that. And again, you can have a camera. You can have a camera to then change everything, and then you can add more text into it, and then you can go from there. Really cool stuff. I might go into that next video or something, maybe like where you can have a camera, or at least the next video where I talk about typography. Maybe try and go a little bit more in depth with it. Trying to show you a little bit more like animation and stuff, but that basically for now is what I wanted to show you. Like I say, you got your composition text there, and you open it up and you've got everything. Subscribe, there. All that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. So that's just the basics, all the text, no edits, and then here is where you've got all your edits. So that's basically the basics of typography. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like rating and subscribe to the channel for more tutorials on these Adobe products. I hope you guys really did learn something new today, and if you did, make sure to comment down below to let me know. Make sure to check down in the description below. I have a load of links to the equipment I use, from the lighting to the camera to the microphone, everything that I use down in the description below. If you want to go ahead and even just check them out or buy them or whatever you want to do, then they're down there and you can do whatever. With that being said, I will take requests from people as well. Comment down below if there's anything you want to learn on After Effects, Premiere Pro, whatever, and I'll do my best to like show you guys how to do whatever you want to learn. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll catch all you guys in the next one.